Hello and welcome to today's video. We are going to be going over what we talked about Friday in class. In case you were absent or want to listen to our conversation again, I'm just going to be summing up what we did and what we found out during our stop and jot conversation. So where we ended off on Thursday, we made group models, which the scoring guidelines, if your teacher is scoring, is on the screen right now. The group models will be graded eventually. What we're more focused on though is the gallery walk. So with the group models, 2 people from your group were able to go visit 2 other groups' models. We switched, and then the other 2 people visited another 2 groups' models. So in total, your group was able to see 4 other models plus your own. So you have 5 of the 6 group models that were made in class and could take notes on those. As students were at other people's groups, they were asked to fill in 3 questions. Interactions in the model that were similar to another model they looked at, unique component of an interaction that they saw in the model that your model didn't have, and then components that they noticed changing or staying the same over time. Now, if you were absent on Friday, you are to come into Nest so you can view other students' models and get an idea of what a good model looks like versus what it doesn't look like, and make your own opinions on these models. If you have trouble answering the components changing or staying the same over the time, please talk to your teacher. We are more than glad to go over those with you. It is a bit hard to see in some of the models, and we don't want to have you lost in our conversations. So once your group saw all the different models in the classroom and did the 2 stay and 2 stray, your group talked amongst each other to create similarities and differences you notice across all the models. Some similarities were that all the models had labels, or that all the models had components that interacted with each other. Some were animal-animal, some were animal-plant. Another similarity is that there was some sort of water source in each of the models. Water seemed to be a big idea here. Another similarity was that there was human interactions, some good and some bad. It seemed like for every bad interaction, there was a good human interaction. Now, the differences are easier to tell since each of your conservation profiles, so sorry about that. Each of your conservation profiles were from a different area of the United States. They each had their own biomes, their own climates, their own different species that live there, their own specific interactions. Another main difference between all the models was the approach to the model. Some models in class were maps of the area. Some models in class were a snapshot, or if you were to be standing in that ecosystem, what does it look like? Another couple models that I saw were more like a comic strip to show interactions, and flowcharts and diagrams. So all different kinds of models, all valid for this part of our exploration. Now, with these similarities and differences, we started to see patterns, and this is the part that I really need you to pay attention to. Although our profiles were similar and different, we saw the same pattern occur across all the profiles. So to start with the Everglades. The Everglades, the story of it was settlers came over, they brought disease, started taking resources, there were endangered species in the environment, and then they learned we need to protect this space. Moving on to Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan, humans would travel in their boats from the Atlantic Ocean all the way to Lake Michigan, dump water, and in the water that they dumped, there were little quagga mussels as well as lamprey, which are both invasive species. Those invasive species harmed the native species, causing endangered species. And then the people in that area are like, we need to conserve this area. There was also a lot of pollution happening in Lake Michigan too, which led to the conservation. Let's move on to the Hoh River. In the Hoh River, humans came. They started to overlog. They chopped down a whole bunch of trees in the area. Species that lived there that needed the trees became endangered. Then humans saw that these species were endangered and thought, we should conserve this area. And lastly was Saguaro. Saguaro National Park, humans came. They started to settle in the area. They wanted to decorate their homes, so they thought, let's plant some bluegrass. Bluegrass looks great as a decoration. Wrong. Bluegrass is an invasive species. It started to harm the cactus that are hundreds of years old. Humans saw that these cactus were dying, these beautiful, beautiful cactus, and thought, we should conserve this area. Do you notice a pattern here? Because I do. In your notebook, make sure you turn to your Stop and Jot page. If you have trouble finding it, read the daily summary of what page you were supposed to be on. But let's write down these patterns. All of the conservation from start to end seem to start with a human interaction. So let's write down the first pattern that we see. Number 1. Humans did something bad. The something bad we talked about. It could be overlogging. Could be disease. It could be pollution. It could be invasive species. It could just be taking too many resources in general. So humans do something bad. Once they do something bad, we then start to see endangered or threatened species. With these endangered and threatened species, if nothing is done, the environment's gonna die. So if nothing done, let's use ecosystem. Ecosystem is going to die. That's a big sad face. We don't want the ecosystem to die. And the people in the area realize that. They don't want the ecosystem to die. Nature is a beautiful thing. The third pattern that we see is that humans start conservation efforts. And that's what led to all of these protected areas that you studied. Now, if you're thinking back to your own conservation profile and you did not get the story that I just told you about your conservation profile, about what humans did to start, the impact on the environment, and then their conservation efforts, go back and read through your profile. I cannot say that enough. If you did not pull out that little story that I just told you from reading through and taking your notes on, what day was that, Wednesday? Then we need to practice a little bit. See your teacher. We can help you pull out that main information. We can help you see the bigger picture. This will only help you throughout the course here. But we need to start somewhere. Okay, so with this Stop and Jot, we answered the first question, what patterns did we notice? Check. Second question, what do we still need to know? Now with this what do we still need to know question, a good way to think of it is You are writing a 5-page paper. Sounds scary, I know. Just listen to where I'm going. So, if I told you to write a 5-page paper on the question, why do ecosystems need protection? And how are they protected? How are they... If I told you to write a 5-page paper on this question, could you do it based off of what you know from other profiles as well as your conservation profile? I don't think you'd be able to. There are still what-if questions that we need to know. So, for example, I'm only going to give you 3 here so you can come up with your own and write these in under what do we still need to know. Some things that we still need to know. Who started conservation efforts? Was it one person? Was it multiple people? Was it a group of people? Was it a local government, the federal government, the animals that live there and they secretly talk when we're not there? Who started it? What steps need to be taken once conservation was determined? Once we said, yes, this place needs protected, what steps were taken afterwards? We could also think at the very beginning of when humans came over of what were they thinking? Were they thinking about their effects of taking down all those trees, or were they thinking of the negative impacts of bringing over plants that weren't native to America? Just some things for you to think about and to start to develop your own questions. Now, it's important that you come with some of your own questions because this week in class, which is September 3rd, Tuesday, September 3rd, we will be using these questions to start to make our driving question board, which is going to lead all of our investigations and all of our classwork moving forward in this unit. The driving question board, you'll need to have at least 3 questions of what do we still need to know to answer our overall question, which is on the front of your packet. How do ecosystems work and how can understanding them help us protect them? I hope this video leads to some insight about what we went over in class. And please, 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 Schoology message or email your teacher to set up a time to come into Nest. We are more than happy to help you. Thank you and have a great rest of your day whenever you are listening to this. Bye.